Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's the most scared you've ever been, /x/?
I've never talked about this before, mainly due to my own fear and paranoia. About 7 months ago, someday in December 2018, I was walking my dog, Yorkshire Terrier, along the community that contained my previous house. This was somewhere in South Florida, at night. It was around 9 p.m. or so, though I cannot recall the exact time. I do remember it being dark enough that, from far away, I'd only be able to distinguish the houses, trees, paths, and other major objects in my line of sight. Anything within 50 to 60 meters, I might be able to have a clue as to what it is, but anything beyond that was a guess. I also suffer from myopia and mild astigmatism, and was not wearing my contacts or glasses. I was coming around back to my house, going through Snapchat stories when my dog makes a sudden stop, perking his ears up and lifting his left front paw, turning to face my left and staring intensely. I didn't immediately pay attention as there were ducks and squirrels that frequently loitered in the area. For the record, my dog usually barks at any other human or animal that is not myself, or a member of my household, parents, sibling, and is fairly territorial. What I found strange, however, is that as I kept walking, ignoring my dog's sudden stop, my dog stayed, staring, paw still lifted and ears still perked up. Usually he follows or starts walking again after I do this, as it's not rare for my dog to make stops like that. As I pull the leash slightly, now looking at my dog, he puts up some unusual resistance. It's not as if I didn't have the strength to force him to move, but he was extremely persistent in staying there this time around. After some quick logical reasoning, deducing that my dog must be staring at some animal or person, I look in the direction that my dog faces, stopping in place. I was confused, as at first glance, there appeared to be nothing that would catch my dog's attention. No humans in their backyard, no animals, nothing. There were no sounds other than the occasional cricket and the slight breeze hitting the leaves of the trees. For reference, my line of sight at the time had 2 rows of 1 and 2 floor houses, parallel to each other and back to back, separated only by grass and a few small trees, with a large pond at the end. As I stared into the horizon of my line of sight, more precisely, near where the pond was supposed to be, I noticed a small, white, humanoid figure standing toward the wall of the backyard of one of the houses on the row to my right. For further reference, my house happened to be on that same row, about 3 to 4 houses closer. I figured it must have been some person that lived there. I didn't really know any of my neighbors other than the ones I went to school with and the ones that I lived next door to. As I turned to look at my phone once again, I noticed my dog starts whimpering, as if crying because he wants something. Usually when he wants me to play with him or take him for a walk, he'll do the same thing. I look at him again and see that his ears are no longer perked up, that his paw is no longer lifted, but rather that he has lowered his head and turned it slightly to the side, walking rather slowly and reluctantly. I assumed my dog didn't want to leave, so I came closer to him to see if I could figure out what's wrong. As I crouch and am about to put my hand on him, I get the biggest chill I have ever had run down from the top of my spine to the bottom, almost reaching my ass, the back of my neck shrinking and shivering, shoulders lifted. I get this sudden, unexplainable feeling that I'm in extreme danger and that I need to run. Literally run, not to any place in particular, not in any direction in particular, just run. There was like a soft voice in my head, which sounded exactly like mine, which I almost didn't notice or realize that it was in my thoughts, that told me I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that I shouldn't stay in that spot in the path I was walking any longer. Of course, this was sort of contradictory to how my dog appeared to feel. because he didn't want to move or run. As I stand back up and begin walking away hurriedly in the direction that would lead to my house, because I didn't fully trust that I was in any real danger, but nonetheless my instinct told me to just go back home. My dog suddenly follows suit and takes the lead, pulling the leash repeatedly and attempting to run beyond the extent of the leash's reach, almost walking on his two hind legs because of the desperation. I stare back at the spot where I'd seen the white figure, but it was no longer there, and as I do, I quickly turn back and realize my dog is trying to lead me to our house, as he turns to the left and tries to sprint forward, whimpering and panting. It's at this point my hurried walk turns into running. Not necessarily desperate running, but running as if I was running on a treadmill at a consistently fast pace. As I'm about 20 meters away from my house, I hear a girl's voice, probably in the 8 to 13-year-old range, giggling very softly. It was so soft I almost didn't catch notice of it. At that point I freaked out, sprinted with my dog, who was now also sprinting, no longer being held back by the leash as I was almost as fast, if not faster than him, toward my front door. Luckily for me, I didn't lock the door before I went to walk my dog, so all I had to do was open the door, slam it shut, and lock it. And that's exactly what I did. When I went to take my dog's leash off, he was shaking and shivering as well as panting heavily. That night I did not sleep, but I didn't ever hear any giggling or notice anything out of the ordinary after I entered my house, and have not heard such giggling or seen that white figure ever again. I did move out of that house in April of this year, and have some friends who I went to school with previously, who still live in that community. I talked to one of my closer friends that lives there about it, but he says he's never seen the figure or heard such giggling. I don't think I've ever been that scared in the sense that there was something off about the situation which I didn't understand, and that what I assumed to be my inner self, as well as my dog, seemed to believe I needed to get out of there. To this day, I still ponder about that situation, and what could have happened to me, and whether anyone would believe me if I talked about it, or what would happen to me if I did talk about it.
I was buying drugs off some sketchy dudes. Thought we were good enough with each other to not pull any bullshit, being a frequent customer, buying in good weight, in and out. The ideal customer. They offer to smoke and cruise around, and I say okay and hop in their whip. When we hit the expressway, they kind of shut me out like I'm not even there. I'm out of the rotation, and they start talking about fun ways to kill me, shoot me, and throw me in the bay. Cut my fingers off in their trap house basement, because their buddy gets off on that shit. At one point, one of them must have had some soul and goes, "Look at this boy, this is just fucking sad." And I realize I had tears streaming down my face, and rightfully so, thinking I'm about to be a dead man, a mark. Just take him back. The others are like, "Come on, we're already halfway there, let's just follow through, why you being a bitch?" And he goes, "Dude's gonna draw heat, can't have it." It goes back and forth like this, and I'm thinking they're about to kill each other for God's sake. My one ally, he must have been kinda in charge or something, 'cause those dudes followed suit. They turn around, and we ride in silence while they finish the blunt. They dropped me off at where we met behind a local corner store, and they took off without saying anything. The next day, I told my buddies about it, expecting to be called a crybaby little bitch and teased, but they got super pissed for me and demanded his number. Called him right up on the spot and told them they'd shoot his head clean off if they ever saw him ever again, or if they ever fucked with me in any way, or even interacted with me. He sounds shook and suddenly changes from a street thug to something else, pleading in text to not bring any trouble to him or his crew. Still best friends with that dude that called, and we've been ride or die ever since. That was the night I was almost murdered for street cred.
I'm not afraid of the dark. I am afraid of being in a closed space or place I don't know in the dark. Be me. Went with my friend to his uncle's place in the mountains. House in the middle of nowhere. Sun goes down. It's a cloudy night without the moon. Pitch black. Friend asks if I want to explore the backyard. Backyard being open mountain. LOL no.jpg. Come on, it'll be fine. Famous last words. He knows I'm afraid of the dark. Takes some convincing, but I finally decide to come with him. Take some shitty Chinese flashlight that he has. The thing barely illuminates shit 5 meters in front of me. Proceed to walk. The house was getting further away but still visible. The mountain was eerily quiet. Share the thought with my friend. You're being jumpy, relax, there's nothing here. Suddenly a noise, the sound of dried grass being stepped on. Did you hear that? We stand still. The most still I have ever been since the time my 8-year-old dumbass self entered the women's showers by mistake. We stood there for a minute or two, and just as I was about to ask, I heard it. A growl about 1 o'clock, very close. Run! 180 degrees, and bolted as fast as I could, my friend very close to me. I could hear his footsteps. Anon, wait. Nope.png. Passed through sharp bushes and rocks alike, a straight line to the house. Reached the house, my friend's aunt at the door, asking what the screaming was about. Trying to explain with my running scared high and feel someone pushing me. My friend, who was locked in place by my arm. I dragged him by the head while running. I let him go and he starts coughing and laughing. Jesus Christ, Anon, that was my father. From the place we ran from comes his father, making the same noise as before. They were having a jolly good laugh at my expense. Feel something run down in my legs. Please don't be piss. Oh, it was just blood, had my legs all cut and bruised. Head back inside, where his aunt put me bandages. When we wake up, he told me he'd been planning that for weeks, since when he heard he'd be staying at his uncle's house. Ended up paying him back later when we went to a lake with a jumping board, but I digress. We ended up joking about it, saying that if you ever need to run away from something, grab onto Anon and he'll bull charge his way to safety.
During my first 2 encounters with shadow people, about 14 at the time, in bed, if I had to guess, it was like 4 a.m. Wake up and look for my phone on my bedside table, but I can't find it because it was too dark. Turn head slightly to the right, and I noticed this figure standing in my room in front of my window. It was a perfect silhouette of a fairly tall man. No hat, no coat, no nothing. It was so dark that I could clearly distinguish it from the darkness of my room, and the bit of moonlight that came through the window just made it stand out even more. I knew that it couldn't possibly be a burglar or some kind of home invader because I lived on the 3rd floor back then. Pretend that it isn't there and I start pretending to sleep. I go under my sheets and I start sweating and shaking profusely. I was either shaking so hard that I started shaking my bed, or some other being was moving my bed. Fast forward to about an hour later. See a light coming from the corridor. It was probably my dad going to work. I rush into the corridor and I stay up for the rest of the night. The second encounter was similar to the first one. The only difference is that it was closer to my bed this time, and I swear that I heard it breathe. The sound it made is the same sound that you make when you show all your teeth and start breathing with your mouth. It was terrifying. The third time it came was also the last time, but at that point I wasn't even that scared because every time it came it just did nothing.
2 years ago. Wake up at around 2 a.m. because thirsty. Get out of bed to get some water. See shadowy figure just standing in the hallway. Instantly freeze. Almost pissed myself, not gonna lie. Fight or flight. Charge at it while screaming, "Get the fuck out of my house." Disappeared. Couldn't sleep for almost 3 days. Saw that being again a few months after, but it was outside. Maybe I managed to scare it with my autistic screeching.
Encountered my first shadow person when I was in 6th grade. In my old room, when the door was open, it was adjacent to the foot of my bed. I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt like I was being watched, and I saw it standing there against the door. It was about as tall as the door, and I know my mind wasn't fucking with me because it was such an intense contrast to my white door. I stared at it all night like a night terror. I couldn't look away. I was frozen in fear until morning came, and I think I just knocked out of exhaustion. The second time I saw it was when I moved rooms because of this incident, but this time it was outside of my window. It was the same dark shape silhouetting against my window because of the street light. I was scared, but I could move this time. The third time was years later when I experienced my first ego death, December 2018. I went to bed and I felt that same dark presence in the hotel room. I couldn't open my eyes, but my girlfriend held me really tightly as if she felt it too. I asked her about it the next day, and she said she felt something in the room with us. The fourth time was after I talked about these experiences with my girlfriend. I let her know about what I saw as a kid and how it felt familiar to the day we tripped. I saw it out of my rearview mirror sitting in the middle of my back seat. Scared the absolute shit out of me. When I double took it was gone, but I know what it feels like to have it around. Whenever I talk about it, I can feel it, but I no longer see it, or am scared of it. Does anyone know what it could be? I'm tired of having to keep my mouth shut about it. It feels like I'm carrying a heavy-ass weight with me everywhere I go.
My best friend growing up in Chicago was gang-related. We were walking around wearing their colors being stupid. His older brother was official. Anyways, we ditched school one day, heading up to an abandoned ComEd plant where people had cut through the fence. We're about a block away when this other rival gang member drives by us and recognizes my friend, since he has beef with his older brother. Dude circles around, pulls over. We ran. Get cornered in some old woman's backyard. The dude pulls out a gun and points it at my friend and I. Meanwhile, some old grouch comes out her back door and starts yelling, "Kill them! Kill them!" The only thing in my mind is, what the fuck? I ran. I left my buddy and ran my ass off. I was shaking when I got home from anxiety, just waiting on my porch for my friend to get home. The dumbass comes walking through the neighborhood smiling like nothing happened.
Be me and girlfriend. Go on camping trip to North Carolina for 5 days. Set up everything. Relax in the tent and pass out till the morning. Wake up. Go hiking. Come back to the campsite. Something off. Some stuff has been moved around on the table. Pots, cooking shit. I don't dwell on it. Sitting by fire at night. Retire to the tent. Wake up around 2 a.m. Can't sleep. Back hurts. Hear something outside. Leaves crunching about 15 feet away from the tent. Sounds like footsteps, but at a very slow pace. Footsteps get closer. Reach for my Beretta under my pillow. Load one in the chamber. Anon, what's wrong? Put finger over my lips. Footsteps stop. It's quiet. Too quiet. Literally everything outside stops. Crickets, birds. Anxiety raising, palms getting sweaty. Girlfriend starting to cry. Hear cooking stuff get knocked on the ground. Girlfriend starts crying even harder. Footsteps start back up again. Getting faster and faster around our tent. Literally sounds like someone is running around our campsite in circles. Footsteps are getting faster. Then nothing. Girlfriend and I don't sleep at all that night. Open tent at sunrise with gun drawn. See cooking shit on the ground by our foldable table. See footsteps in dirt around our tent. Looks deformed with only 3 toes. Size of foot seemed like 5 inches. Pack up and leave.
All right. So I live in New Mexico, and my friends and I are a bunch of wannabe metalheads and punks. Once or twice a month, we'd meet at a friend's ghetto house out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by desert, and it was normally a pretty good time. One day, I just wasn't feeling it. I was in a bad mood, so I decided not to take any, and one of my friends was willing to hold on to my share for next time. I had not been drinking, and I wasn't on anything else. I decided after chilling for 30 minutes, I didn't want to hang out for many hours, watching everyone else have a good time, so I started to leave. After opening the front door, I could see out the screen door, and quite a distance away, I saw a giant black dog. It wasn't close enough for me to see any super specific features, but I could tell it was huge, and it just sat there staring right at me. I just watched dumbfounded, as there was no one nearby, and it isn't a common sight to see giant black dogs wandering the desert. And after a few seconds, the dog just started barking viciously in my direction. I slammed the regular door shut and retreated inside. I didn't tell my friends, because I didn't want them to freak out or anything. I ended up peeking out the windows and such over the course of 7 hours, until I couldn't see the dog anymore. It stayed out there for 7 hours just screwing with me or something. I don't know. Again, I wasn't inebriated or intoxicated in any shape or form. And since that incident, I laid off all the recreational drug use and rarely drink.
I have 3 stories. No idea what caused the fear. I would say panic attack, except I can't think of a trigger, and I don't have anxiety or anything. Shower light died and no light bulbs in house at the time. Can't be asked switching light bulbs around so I can have a shower. Also, all the lights in the house were on at the time, and I value my non-crispy fingertips. Shower in the dark, because who's gonna stop me? I also smell, and I have school tomorrow. Rest of my family is on the other end of the house, so I leave the door to the hallway open for some light. The door opens in a way that means nobody walking past can see inside at all. I'm hidden by both the door and the shower curtain. Also, the hallway echoes, so if anyone walked in my direction, I could call out to warn them. Showering in peace. I enjoy the dark and hot showers, so I'm perfectly at home. Soaping up my hair, it's long so it takes ages. Suddenly overcome by intense paralyzing fear. Seriously went from 0 to 10. No idea what happened. Feel like someone's inside with me, waiting to hurt me. Or maybe just staring, which for some reason is always far more terrifying in your head when you're spooked. Fear only intensifies as I try to make fun of myself for being a lil failure. Panic even worse and burst out crying. Finish up my shower and jet my way out of there. Disclaimer. I'm not afraid of the dark. I like sitting in darkened rooms because I find it cozy. Sometimes I just chill in dark rooms near the window to read or whatever. Sometimes piss with the lights out for the cozy feeling. I don't have any disorders, and I've never had anxiety attacks before, even though I get freaked out by learning new things in public. At high school, just finished art class. I didn't choose a career in art, by the way. Have your McDonald's jokes anyway. I just took art because it made me happy. It was the only reason I even turned up at school. My attendance was 1% above the rate at which they have to kick you out. In a really good mood because I like that class. Going to maths class, which I like as well because the teacher's awesome and I like maths, And I have friends in that class. Overall, my day's been awesome. Get called to dental busts. I don't know if this is done everywhere, but if you're under 18, dental care is free. Schools also have a group of dentists show up every year to perform a checkup on students for free. Show up. Not worried because my teeth are in good condition, aside from a baby tooth that refuses to come out, hanging by a thread. Waiting for about 10 minutes while they check up on another kid, just chilling and reading a book. Another kid arrives and we joke around about how the dentist sucks, even though I'm not even bothered because I know I'll be in and out. The kid inside leaves the room and I get called up. Dentists are really friendly. They say hello. I burst suddenly into tears and can't stop myself. I have no idea what happened. They actually asked me if I'd been abused by a doctor or dentist previously. They thought I was having a regression or something, and they let me sit aside until I was okay again. I wound up sitting in there for over an hour trying to chill out before I was okay. The appointment itself only took a few minutes. They did an X-ray on my tooth, put some numbing gel on it, and I pulled it out myself. Shit was fine. To this day, I have no idea what's happened. I've even looked into the doctor abuse thing, but I have never remembered any issue like that. About 13. At a friend's house, watching Spy Kids. The other girls are fawning over the boy in it. I think it's the llama guy from Twilight, but I don't remember, and I don't care enough to Google it. Suddenly get dizzy. Stomach feels sick. Like when you want to throw up, but there's nothing left to chuck. Can't concentrate. Can't really see straight. Head hurts badly, and I get this horrible, surreal feeling like nothing is right. Strong feeling takes over, like the world is wrong, and I'm in the middle of some disastrous event, and I can't stop it, but I can't tell anyone either, or they'll think I'm crazy. I feel like I'm watching a train wreck or an atomic bomb going off. Nobody realizes what's going on with me, because I start trying to laugh like all of the others so they don't see my panic. They eventually go back to watching the movie, and I decide to move. So I'm sitting on the floor. The couch looked expensive, and I didn't want to throw up on it or anything. Her parents seemed nice. Also, the closer to the floor I was, the safer I felt. Dad finally picks me up after the movie. Never speak about it. I never really thought about these events afterwards. I was wondering if anyone else has ever had these feelings or the sudden, unexplainable terror. My shower post was originally going to include the fact that it occurred in my dead granddad's old house, which is why I brought the thread to /x/. Halfway through typing it up, I realised that this sort of thing actually happened a couple of times. I figured, unexplainable terror is scarier than spooky ghosts.
Today, I woke up at 3 or 5 a.m. I felt like somebody was pinning me to the ground by pushing my wrists, back of my neck, and putting his fingers between mine, and one in my armpit. I heard something like he was continuously closing his mouth, and I remember seeing an image of what looked like a humanoid spider face. My breathing was getting heavier, and I kept repeating, "None of this is real," to calm myself. But the sensation of being pinned down and the noise convinced me that it was real. Turned out it was all an illusion, and the feeling of being pinned down was due to the fact that I was sleep paralyzed. The face I saw along with the noise were as I assumed a dream, since I was partially asleep. My head was facing the ground and I couldn't have possibly seen his face behind my neck. It was terrifying. This mix of nightmare and sleep paralysis made me feel completely hopeless and terrified. Somehow, I recognized that it wasn't real and controlled my breathing during it. I would have had a panic attack.
Kinda basic, but me and my sister was in the ocean. We were about 14 and 12 at the time, and the tide was going out unnaturally fast. I've since learned I was probably in a rip current. I'm an okay swimmer, but I mainly did it in the pool. My country is quite cold, so there isn't really a chance to swim in the sea much. We were on holiday in a foreign nation. Anyway, me and my sister were carried out. If I were alone, I probably would have been fine, but she was panicking, so she grabs my leg. I'm desperately trying to keep both her and myself afloat. At that moment, my leg kicks out to try and free itself, and I consciously think to just let her die and survive on my own. By actively kicking her off my leg, it was pragmatic, but it scared me I could be so callous. She started screaming for help, and eventually 2 guys made their way to us, while I fought with everything I had to keep us afloat. We then swam back as like a 4-man and 1 girl to shore. Honestly though, what scares me the most is if it were just me and her, and I had to let her drown to live, I would have done it. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't in the right state of mind. If she never thought of screaming for help, she'd probably be dead. Never really told anyone this story before. She also never confronted me despite talking about the situation, so she probably doesn't know.
I've discussed this incident with my roommate, and no one else. He says he has had a similar experience. Laying face down on bed, looking out my window to the left, looking at one star in particular. Suddenly feel like I'm getting sucked into the star. Whole body is vibrating. Field of vision warping around this singular star. I'm literally about to fly through my window face first and leave Earth. Jump up and run to kitchen and get a glass of water to calm down after horrifying incident.
Work in an illegal massage parlor as a receptionist. Only young white dude here. I got the job through an Asian friend. Other receptionists are all older Viet guys. One of them is kinda weird. Like he leaves his crack pipes laying around and shit like that. He's actually nice though. He left a pot brownie in the desk drawer and said I could have it. Being the absolute spurg that I am, I eat the whole thing while I'm on my shift. Like half an hour before the shift ends, so it's all good. Problem is, my replacement is running late. So here we are. It's 6 p.m., getting dark. I'm in the sketchiest spot in town. We could get raided or robbed any goddamn minute. And I'm frying my ass off on these pot edibles. And I cannot leave until these other 2 dudes show up. I swear to God, I'm so high, I cannot function at all. So goddamn stoned that I cannot even communicate 2 words without being super conspicuous and awkward. Now it gets super busy. I have to collect cash from customers, tell them to wait in the lobby, show them to their rooms, tell the girls who goes in which room, etc., etc., all while tripping balls. Of course I fuck everything up. Like I send one customer to a room while the girl is still making the bed, getting cussed out in languages I can't even understand. One girl notices that I'm behaving really weird and gives me a hug, but that just makes everything worse. Finally, my replacement shows up. I'm too fucking blitzed to say bye to anyone, so I just hop in my car and drive off like a faded Ryan Gosling. I'm still kind of scarred.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.